Liverpool lose to Spurs in the first leg of the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. Should we be concerned? Mm, Hello, everyone. I usually do not like these sensationalizing titles for video or to start with those kind of narratives, but that is what gets you views. But no, I I think it's an exaggeration, but yeah, I think we need to talk about this poor start to 2025. We were riding that high of 5-0 win over West Ham, and then it all went to shit. Mm, the Tottenham game, I will not get into the referee decisions of the second yellow. Should the first yellow had been given, and then the foul, and Costa Simicas was out. We were 10 men. We were down to 10 men, and that's when the goal happened. I cannot, really cannot get into all of that. But what I do want to talk about is maybe somewhere we can see that our squad depth is probably not as deep as we thought, because on paper I can see why we would think we have enough reinforcements. But I think it is fair to say that there are certain players that Arne Slot is maybe not willing to sub on in case things are not working out. I'd say Harvey Elliott. Uh, I would also say if it wasn't for Gerald Kwanzaa's illness and his desire to come off, maybe Endo. Um, Two players that I've seen that Arne Slot for some reason would only sub on in the last 10-15 minutes, including injury time, of any game. And with Harvey Elliott, I can understand because by the time he came back from his injury, the team was settled in, the manager had his first team decided and everything. But Endo, especially when we don't have a cover for Gravenberch, um, I can understand how he may not be the kind of similar kind of player that Arne Slot likes, but I mean, just we need to manage Gravenberch's minutes, right? I would say Salah, Grav, and Virgil van Dijk are the three players that I'm most concerned about, because all three of them mostly seem to be playing every single game to the full 90 minutes whenever they start. Salah still I've seen being subbed off every once in a while, but especially when Liverpool are in a bad situation, the manager, rightfully so, will not sub any of these three off. And I think that while I understand their importance and acknowledge the fact that they are really, really good players, two of them being certifiably world class players, and Gravenberch is like literally reimagined into a defensive midfielder, something that Liverpool has lacked for a long time. Um, at the end of the day, their minutes still need to be managed. And I think I can say very clearly on behalf of most, if not all, Liverpool fans that the lack of business in the transfer windows is concerning. Because the last time we got a player, and I'm not counting Chiesa because he's barely made any appearances for Liverpool. The last time we got a player for our team was last to last summer window. It was the summer of 2023, which was, I think, the last one was either Gravenberch or Endo to come to the squad. So it is concerning, because if Arne Slot does not trust some of these players, going forward, it is going to get difficult. Because right now we have, okay, sure, League Cup, we're already in the semi-finals. We still remains to be seen what we are capable of doing at Anfield, and you would think that we would be able to win, but now I'm really not sure, because we've had a very shaky start to 2025, and going forward, we are going to have FA Cup games, and the Champions League games are going to be more and more difficult because, out of these 30, like, uh, subsequent rounds, the teams are going to get difficult because it's only the best of the best who are making it through to the next rounds. So, yeah, there is a concern. And so, which brings me to the question, where are the transfers? I mean, not discounting the fact that we have literally still not tied down three of our very, very, very important players. um, till now there's no resolution on Trent, Virgil van Dijk or Mo Salah. So we have not tied the three of them down, or two out of three, anybody out of those three. And the fact that any rumors that I've seen is about outgoing transfers or a, 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 a winger from Napoli. Like, I can understand the concerns, especially given that I'm not even sure if this player is capable of playing as a out and out striker. But if he is, I can understand the desire to bring him, not just for this season, but as a future prospect for the team. I can see an argument being made for that. But again, we have two very solid left wingers. We have two, maybe three right wingers, depending on how he wants to use Harvey Elliott, if he at all wants to use Harvey Elliott. So, and with Chiesa, I don't know when he's going to actually use Chiesa, but I hope it is somewhere in the near future. I'm sure he starts in the Accrington Stanley game in the FA Cup, but the squad depth is not what it seems to be if Arne Slot is reluctant to play these players. And so we need those transfers. We need those players to come in. And when I was thinking about all of this, I kind of wanted to get a sense of like what is the club thinking. And so I was trying to see what these Liverpool journalists are talking about, and one of them who I really highly rate, and I like his very balanced point of view, and he's very straightforward about everything related to Liverpool. There was a conversation about getting a fifth centre back, um, and he made a very valid point that if we do decide to bring a fifth centre back, that essentially means that we are cutting off any minutes that Jarell Kwanzaa can get, because whoever will be coming in is on the pecking order of starting centre backs would be higher than Kwanzaa, because Kwanzaa is very young and undoubtedly a little shaky in his confidence. Um, it is unfortunate that he got taken off at halftime in the first game of the Premier League, and Konate was just amazing when he came on for Kwanzaa, and so since then it has been a little bit difficult for him to get those minutes. And even when he has come on, he's had these unfortunate deflections that have resulted in goal, particularly um, in the League Cup games against Brighton and West Ham. So I can understand why his confidence is shaky, but it again, this is why there's an argument that can be made, because it's not about where the minutes for him are going to come. It's about the fact that if Arne Slot is reluctant to use him and does not use him unless it is literally the last resort, um, we cannot have that happen, because Virgil van Dijk would also need rest. Like, when is Virgil van Dijk going to rest? When these matches start coming in thick and fast, because we'll have Premier League, we'll have further stages of Champions Leagues where the games are going to get difficult, and the same goes for FA Cup. And I would hope that we would have that kind of an attitude, like we would want to go all out and win those and give our 100% to win all of those trophies. Whether or not we do it remains to be seen, but we will approach every single tournament with the intent to win. So an argument can be made for a fifth centre back. And as for where do they get their minutes, well, I mean, Kwanzaa is still not getting minutes. when Konate, Bradley, and Simicas were all injured, they were injured out at the same time. Joe Gomez, who is literally our super sub, like he can play on either of the fullback positions or he can play as a center half. He was literally starting as the center back for every single game. And because of that, we did not have a cover for either of the fullback positions. And those are the periods where we saw these questionable performances by Robertson. And again, it was because of a lack of rotation for Andy Robertson that I would say some of these incidents, quote unquote, happened, because he was playing 90 plus minutes every 3-4 days. So yes, an argument can be made, because I would not count Joe Gomez as a dedicated center half that we have, um, given that his importance is across that entire back line. So while I see the argument for not getting a fifth center half, given what we have seen in this season, I think there is an argument to be made for a fifth centre back. And centre back aside, like, where is the cover for Gravenberch? Where are all these rumors that were circulating about Zubimendi finally being ready to leave Sociedad for a January exit? Where are we on that? Why are we not hearing anything about it? Um, it is my understanding that FSG has kind of delegated the footballing decisions to the sporting directors. But is there not, are they not doing the managerial follow up? Hey, what the fuck is going on? Where is the accountability? Who holds these sporting directors accountable? Because if we don't do any business, and if we stumble, god forbid, like last season, I know last season was a special case of like just the most devastating injury crisis that we have seen in recent years, but still we did stumble. And I would not say that it was of our own making, because like it's injuries, they are part of the game. And uh, I don't think that we have had that kind of an injury crisis. I think Konate, Bradley, and Simicas being injured at the same time is the worst that it has gotten so far in this season. But even then, we have managed. It's not like we haven't. But now Joe Gomez is out, and we are lucky that Kwanzaa came off because of illness and not because of an injury. So there's some comfort in that. But mm, I think I think my point is that I understand why Arne Slot will not come out and say that, yeah, I don't trust these players, I don't want them in the team, etc. Unless he knows that there is a replacement coming. Even if he knows there are replacement coming, there is no reason to come out and say anything like this about any player. I'm sure he thinks they are all good players. It's just they're not the kind of profile that he looks for, which is valid, which is fair. Um, but then we need the club needs to support him. You, like we are lucky. I would not say lucky, because I think Liverpool did their homework, but we are lucky in the sense that every club kind of struggles after getting rid of such a big manager, and then have the new guy come in and be successful from the get-go. Um, Granted, Jurgen Klopp left the team in very, very good shape. He left the club on very good terms. He was not sacked. He chose to walk away. And Arne Slot has come into this team, had has had virtually no signings, and taken over this team and delivered results. He's made a case for himself. He's made a case. He's proven that with with a team that is not his players, he's still able to get these results. So it is a valid argument. It is a valid sort of result for him to get the players that he wants. So I don't understand the hesitation. I hope we are working behind the scenes to get somebody in, whoever Arne Slot wants, okay? I can sit here and say that these are the players we need, and maybe Arne does not think that, but like, I want us to do something. And I understand that big squads are a problem, but I do not think we are there, especially because I see a reluctance in starting certain players. So I think it is fair to say that those players will not be getting much of game time unless and until it is absolutely necessary due to circumstances. So I think that Liverpool needs to be a little bit proactive in this transfer window. And if we do have players, if we actually genuinely have players available that Arne Slot wants, we should be getting them. And also we should be making a decision on what we are doing with all these three contracts, because if Trent is going to leave eventually, would it be beneficial to get a right back right now? um, or if Van Dijk and Salah are not going to get a new contract, or if the club is not going to reach an agreement with them, how do we then start preparing for the next season? Should we start now or in the summer? I'm sure all these things are happening, but I think for the remainder of the season, with how hard and fast these games are going to come, if we keep winning and keep going further into the stages for these tournaments, and like, I mean, of course the Premier League games are going to still be there, we will need reinforcements. And we need to protect these players who are world class: Mohamed Salah, Virgil van Dijk, Gravenberch, these players who are so important. And these players for whom we don't have a like to like cover, okay? I don't think if Virgil van Dijk is available, there is ever a situation where he does not start, unless it's a game like Accrington Stanley, right? I do not see a situation in which Konate and Joe Gomez start as centre backs when we are playing like the quarterfinals of Champions League. That is just not going to happen. So we need to make sure that there is some semblance of, depending on who we are playing against and how much these players have played, there has to be some managing of their minutes, because I am talking about these players who have so much of an impact, but like, look at how much Liverpool has suffered in the last two games because Zoboslai was ill. These are Zoboslai and Alexis McAllister are like players whose importance is only understood by their absence. And what I am talking about is Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Gravenberch. It's very visible, like their importance within the squad and relating and their contributions to the success of the team in a particular game, in any particular game, is so very apparent. So like, there are big questions to be asked. If Zubimendi is not coming, and if Arne Slot is not willing to give Endo the time so that Gravenberch can rest, we have to find a solution. Zubimendi cannot be the only defensive midfielder on our radar. I mean, I can understand why he would be the best candidate, but I think we have known it since this re-emergence of Gravenberch that we do need a cover there. And we have also seen throughout the season that has gone on with Arne Slot that he is very reluctant to start Endo in that position unless and until Gravenberch is looking so leggy that he has no idea but to, which is what happened in the Newcastle game where we drew against them. So I hope that we do get something, if that is really and truly Arne Slot's requirement, to ensure that the road. I have no doubts that Arne Slot will try his absolute level best to get us as much result as possible, but the least the club can do is try and make it as simpler and easier for him by providing him with this assistance. And with all these Elon Musk rumors, okay, this is not a post, this is not a video to make a case for FSG out or something like that. It is okay to criticize our owners without it meaning that I want our club to self destruct and be sold to a fucking egomaniac. that is not what it is. um, you cannot be just sitting idle when all your rivals are strengthening their squad. Spurs got a goalkeeper when they needed him. Amad Diallo was doing so good with Manchester United and they extended his contract. And I understand like the big three contracts are going to take time, but like it has been enough time. Like we should be seeing resolution for these things. So yeah, I hope that Liverpool does do the transfers that are needed, and I hope that we are able to get the success that Arne Slot has shown that this team and he himself is capable of achieving with this club. And that too in his first season would be an amazing story and an amazing achievement for Liverpool as a club and for Arne Slot as a manager to achieve this in the Premier League, which is like, just look at the kind of successful seasons that we've seen as any manager in Premier League in their first season. Like that list is has very few people in it, and it's highly coveted managers. Conte, it's Don Carlo, it is Jose Mourinho. So yeah, it is, again, it's a different kind of history being written, but it is history nonetheless. And it is one of those successful kind of debut campaigns for a new manager, um, that can happen if Liverpool just supports Arne Slot a little bit. So I hope it happens. Maybe you'd think that it's too early. It's like maybe I should be making this video 10 days before the end of the transfer window rather than 10 days into the transfer window. But man, I am worried. I understand last year's stumbling was a special circumstance of the injuries that we had, but again, right now, the only thing that I can see coming between us and the success that we can see that this club is capable of achieving is of our own making, with these contract situations and then with this lack of transfer. And I don't want us to sign just anybody for the heck of it, because that does not help anybody. Like, if there is a player that Arne Slot wants, if there have been discussions about that and that player is available, should go get it. I don't want more posts about Liverpool has admiration for this, Liverpool is considering this player. No, just if it is what Arne Slot wants and if that player is available, go enter negotiations, talk to the clubs, talk to the players, agree on the terms and just get them, because it is essential. We've had a year and a half of no transfers, no meaningful no transfers that have actually come into the first team and played substantial minutes. And yeah, if that does not happen and we do get any kind of success or any kind of silverware this season, it is not going to be because of these owners. It's going to be despite these owners. And I hope that we can make it easier for Slot, because Premier League is already very difficult and so is Champions League. So I hope that this manager gets the support that he has shown that he deserves from the club and from the sporting directors.